Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna. What if I and Anjaneti Prabhu and Maharaj speak like that to you? You'll be like, this Sunday evening I came all the way to temple and not getting an enthusiastic response. So can I hear everyone saying loudly, raise your hands, both your hands, everyone, and hold one Hare Krishna mantra with full exuberance and with full devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much. Thank you. And in fact, for the speaker who I'm going to introduce right now, this kind of exuberance is so expected from the audience. Because I would always call Maharaj, we have never a dull moment. So for anyone who's taking the temple or who's in association with Maharaj, you can never have a dull moment. Because Maharaj is so full of gusto, so full of energy, and he should be welcomed with a similar energy. I think everyone here knows Maharaj, and then one family, Anjaneti Prabhu said that they are joining us for the first time today. So I don't think he needs a formal introduction, but just for my purification, let me tell, we are all coming to temple. Some of us are coming from a few months, some of us are coming from a few years, but Maharaj has been serving Iskcon, has been serving Srila Prabhupada, has been serving the great movement from last 5 decades. It's been 50 years. There's never a dull moment. There never comes a time when you say, oh, I've been doing that for so many years, one another kirtan. Oh, no, not that. You have to join every morning in Mangal Aarti and see that every day it seems like we are doing something new, we are doing something exciting. And that's Maharaj in 50 long years and lofty services that he has been rendering to Iskcon. It's not just that, he has a lot of arrows in his quiver, I would say. Nobody would say at this age, he's 70, and just to let, and many of us already know, coming in 2 days, he's going to be 1 year younger. And at this age, where he has both his knees been replaced surgically, he has walked, he's a professional walker, he's a marathon walker, and he's walked across the country, our country, Canada, 4 times. To Canada, he has walked across US, he has walked across Ireland, Israel, Mauritius, Fiji, Trinidad, Guyana, and so many other places. So when he walks, a lot of people ask, why do Maharaj do so much of walking? Because I believe all of us are so fortunate that we get to come to the temple. But there are millions and billions of people out there who do not know about Krishna. But when they see Maharaj, Maharaj gives them a kind of remembrance that Krishna exists, God exists. He walks to promote pilgrimage. He walks to promote and inspire a greener way of life. He walks to let people connect with the divine through nature and just make friends. Just a few weeks back, when I was walking with Maharaj, just at the Ramston Park out there, we met 2 people. They were pretty high in many regards, as you may understand. Many things are pretty legal in the country, so they were pretty high, and they just said, oh, Hare Krishna! Even in their high state, they just said, Hare Krishna! And we stopped by and we said, Hare Krishna! And then they said, and the other person couldn't recognize, so one of them said, oh, they are the ones, they had that Govinda's restaurant. So the other person asked, oh, so do you sell meat? And Maharaj said, well, we would love to meet you, but we don't sell meat. So like this, I was there at Young Street once, and then other kind of people meet, and everyone recognized Maharaj. They all say Hare Krishna, and they want to meet. So Maharaj, and by the way, Maharaj's all walking experience has also been captured in a documentary by National Film Board of Canada, which is called The Longest Road. And if you want to read his transcendental tales from the trails, then he's also written a book which is just here called The Saffron Path. And officially, wherever we have gone, so we went for Rath Yatra in Calgary, in Ottawa, we were there in Vancouver for one of the festivals, H.H.Bhaktimarga, Seva Planet, across Canada and US, wherever he has walked. When we were in Vrindavan, West Virginia, just a few weeks back, we went with a carton of book, and and they just, they just went like hot cakes. Everyone just won them at the moment. So if you need it, Maharaj is here, he'll sign the copy for you. You can get the signed copies from Maharaj. That's about his walking experience. We all know, for those who have acted in the play, Maharaj is a wonderful, marvelous, well, to say to the least, if I have to put it this way, if at all the Oscars ever get to see him, he will be an Oscar winner. I know as a sure, he's a perfect artistic director. The way he directs the beautiful plays. How many of you have seen this place? Anyone? Yeah? Can you vouch for that? Yes? So yes to say Haribo! Across the world, Maharaj loves. Yeah? Yeah? Hundreds of times he says it. Yeah, on YouTube. Oh, great. Yeah? Vikram, how old are you? 9. So 100 of times I'm calculating how many years, how many times you watch in a year and a month. You do that almost every day, like a Krishna pastime reading at night, Krishna book, yeah? Alright. So like I was saying, Maharaj is a wonderful writer. He's a poet. He has written about 80 poems. So from being a director, artistic director of devotional plays, professional marathon walker, monk of course that he is, and always inspiring us so much. We're so fortunate that we get to hear from him today. And of course we have this book, The Saffron Path. We also have put the table outside there, just in case if you want the signed copies, you can let Maharaj know after the session at the inside. So I don't want to waste any time, and without any further ado, let's again give a huge round of applause, reverberating applause. I did not know he's a great cook as well. I just got to know that Papa would know that Maharaj makes great pasta. So, it's been a while.
Thank you so much. We're going to start chanting. Thank you. That was over the top, as usual. Okay, we will chant Jai Radha Madhava. Some of you know the song. We may not have musicians here, but I think COVID just put everyone out of commission for a bit. But anyways, we'll just use our hands, okay? Oh. Rama ki. Thank you very much. So what we like to do is what we've done in the past, before COVID, is just lead you into chanting japa for 3 minutes. If you have beads with you, like this, a strand with 108 beads on it, that would be great. If not, just chant. The mantra, as most of you know, is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. So if we can, this is a mantra for appeasing the mind, gaining some calmness. We'd ask you to sit with your back, neck, and head correct in a straight line. It's nice to close the eyes so we can just concentrate on the sound, and we'll do it in unison. We'll spend 3 minutes on this, okay? On your mark, get set, go. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. So now, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Mantra meditation. So today we're going to do something a little different, as was indicated by Gautam. We're doing actually a book launch. I live here, and this book has been out for a few months. I never really had a chance to promote the book or to have it available, so that's what we're doing right now. Now, usually when you do a book launch, the author reads a little segment of the book, so that's also what I'm going to do. Just a few days ago, one very special lady passed away. Her name is Sally Agarwal. She's an American lady. She married an Indian gentleman. His name is Gopal. from India. And she's the person responsible for bringing Prabhupada here. She signed the sponsorship papers. She didn't really know what she was getting into. She didn't know he'd show up on the door. But I had a meeting with her personally in Vrindavan in 2000, that would have been a long time ago, 2017. And she told all about what she can remember about Prabhupada, who would visit her and her husband's home in Butler, Pennsylvania for 1 full month. So I'll just read that little segment and we'll talk a little bit more about it and a little bit more about the book and the traveling adventures, okay? One fine morning, I arrived in Butler, Pennsylvania on foot as usual. This is a special place for all Hare Krishna devotees because our Guru came to the city seeking accommodation at the old YMCA, now the Boys Club Center on McKean Street. After having landed at Boston and moving on to New York, Prabhupada was driven to Butler to stay for some time. I hope we get some pictures of Butler, Pennsylvania. From here, he established himself as an exponent of Sri Chaitanya, an influential monk and well-known walker from the medieval period in India. Vivaswan, my reliable and ever so hopeful support person, went to the downtown library where he connected with a local historian who was utterly surprised to hear that Butler was where the Hare Krishna movement began. Also, personally for me, it was quite overwhelming to tread the trail of my teacher who spoke at the YMCA, the local Lions Club, and St. Fidelis Catholic Monastery nearby. I met up with a reporter from the Butler County Eagle newspaper to inform him of my trek. I also explained that I was celebrating the fact that half a century ago, a humble man from India resided here under the sponsorship of Butler residents Gopal and Sally Agarwal. I mentioned to the reporter what had been said 50 years ago by the Swami to the then journalist of the same newspaper. And here's the quote: "If Americans paid more attention to their spiritual life, they would be happier." Indeed, I felt choked up at moments while walking in this historically significant area, thinking of the boldness exhibited by this small Indian Swami in a very strange land. On Saturday, October the 24th, 2015, the members of Iskcon's New Vrindavan community organized a banquet at the Grand Hall. It was the 50th anniversary Jubilee celebration to mark when the Swami came to Butler. Over 200 attendees came to celebrate and engage in one of those world-famous feasts hosted by Hare Krishnas. Hare Krishna. So I remember the event. We had kirtan in downtown Butler, quite a few, I'd say about 150 of us devotees in quaint little city, Butler, Pennsylvania. And it was kind of a cold day, there was a cold rain coming down, but that didn't matter. We went up the street and people thought we were kind of crazy. Then we walked over from the banquet hall, and then we walked over to where the Agarwals used to live. It's a townhouse. And I pointed to the devotees who were chanting with us. That's where they lived, you know? And so they rushed over there. And of course, people are living there. It's not the Agarwal's residence. And they went and they all touched the footsteps. And you know, look at the curtain was opening. What is going on in my house? You know? And I just said, get back, we're not fanatics. Okay, that's one wonderful episode we had. And we had senior devotees talking about the old days of Prabhupada in Butler anything that was known. Butler, by the way, is on the way to New Vrindavan. So pilgrims from Toronto have a special advantage, because when you go to New Vrindavan, our world famous, let's say, country ashram, closest line to us, you have a chance to go to Butler, and you can see the old YMCA and the place where Prabhupada stayed overnight. In fact, when we were there, we met the owners of the building. It's now called the Boys Club, Boys Center Club, and they were trying to sell us the building. I think it's a little bit old and dilapidated. Okay, so a little bit more about the book. People have been asking me, can you tell us, write down your stories about what the walking was all about? And so the book does cover, reasons for why I did the first walk, and then I became an addict to walking, and not just the reason, but also what happened along the way, and that those were adventurous times. They really were, and they were also trying times. Like I started in 1996 with the first walk, and it was on the West Coast, and it was April. Guess what happens in April? Rain, right? Every day for the longest time. And so as a sannyasi, as a monk, we learn detachment by going through it all. Going through the rain and sometimes cold days. Cold wasn't such a big issue. Heat is. It's hard to walk through the summer. When you have cold days, you walk and you stoke up your furnace within, and it's okay. And windy days, all kinds of experiences. So it was quite common to meet with authority. That happened both in Canada and the US, mostly in those two countries, where authorities would come. And I'm dressed like this when I stand up. Some people call me the walking traffic cone. And police would stop, and usually it was for the reason that someone had reported that someone had escaped from the local prison because they were orange, right? So it's very interesting. And also at the beginning of my walk, there was an Afro-American young man. We both had the same birthday on October 5th. But he could have been my son. I was that much older. But we got along really well. And he's a rapper. In fact, he looks like Bob Marley, tall and lanky, dreadlocks, and he would rap. So I gave him mantras to chant, Sanskrit mantras, and he would, just inadvertently, just any time, any place, he would just make up a song, and throw the Sanskrit mantras in there. So it was a lot of fun. So it wasn't uncommon for people to doubly phone the authorities that there's somebody escaping from prison, and there's a drug lord from the inner city walking in our neighborhood. What are you going to do about it? So it was fun. We met all kinds of people. I remember going through Pennsylvania and just going back and forth through the two countries. And it was the fall time, and there were a lot of walnuts growing everywhere, and they naturally shipped from the trees. And I remember two Amish girls with walnuts and everything. They're very sort of orthodox, conservative community, but wonderful people. They make the best food. They build the best Rathayatra carts. They have done that for us too, believe it or not. And the two girls were much younger than myself, and I was across the road. And they were harvesting, these walnuts. I said, well, what do you do with them? First I said, good job. Okay. What are you doing? We're collecting the walnuts. And what do you do with them? Well, we make muffins and pies. And I was just so charmed by what they were doing on the side of the road, right? Who does that, right? You buy everything at the grocery store. But these folks live by the simple mode of life, right? So do you mind if I take a picture? No, don't. Okay, great. So it's just beautiful. All along the way, it was just so nice to meet fantastic people. One of the reasons was to kind of go on these walks, and when I first started in Canada, was to get out of the temple, because the temple is like a kind of a bubble, and there was, it's a transcendental bubble. It's a really special place when you walk in, when you go up. But sometimes, frankly, the community likes to gossip, and that was the reason why, one of the reasons I can't stand the gossip anymore. So I'm going for a long gentle walk that took 7.5 months. I was actually chanting 64 rounds a day on that first walk. And 6 hours. And we were also getting the devotees from the community across the country to install Bhagavad Gitas in every library in the country. You know? So we want to thank our Hindu community for getting our name tag. One of our more recent parks in Brampton, which is in our vicinity here in the Greater Toronto area, for naming it Sri Bhagavad Gita Park. Isn't that wonderful? So the walking is to make a mark, to go out there and meet people again, because you were in a bubble and you missed out on a lot of things. And I was seeing, once in a while you see people in black and wearing white makeup, and this is so common in the 90s, and the gothic look, and looking like they just got sucked dry by Dracula or something like that. And I just was so, do you want to show one of those? Show me. It's so nice to see people, and all kinds of people like truckers. Here's another story. It was Saskatchewan, okay, on my first one. And there was a trucker, he pulled over, and he had a cap on. He didn't look like the sort of, truckers like this, the spare tire here around their belt, like underneath their t-shirt, so to speak, right? But this was a very decent man. I think he was a Christian or something. They told he had a problem. It was a breakdown with his vehicle, his big truck, and he was carrying barley. And I said, they told me over the walkie-talkie that you're walking across the country. So what's it for? And I gave him a little brochure which tells all that I'm walking for the spiritual healing of the nation. And just the year before, Canada was maybe going to split up. Quebec was thinking about dissecting itself and being like Scotland to England, right? And so there was, the country was a little bit jittery, it was a little shaky, And so that's one of the reasons for walking as well. So, anyways, he was reading the brochure and said, yeah, but you believe in a different God than I. Excuse me, sir. It's all the same God. The sun that we're looking at is shining down upon us, shines here in Saskatchewan, it shines in Russia, it shines in America, France, everywhere. It just goes by different names. It's the same God, you see. So, I don't know. We also met some people that were a little bit redneck in their dynamics. And like say, for instance, I was walking through one particular small place in British Columbia, and this was a red convertible guy who drove by slow down and said, get out of town. Of course, now people are more accepting of us. And really, in 26, 27 years, the world has changed, And people have seen enough, kung fu movies with monks doing all kinds of, martial arts that, oh yeah, there's a martial arts guy, yeah, monk, hey, are you a monk? Usually that's the question. Yeah, so sometimes you get those kind of dynamics where people are also kind of nasty, and sometimes they throw things at you, like a full bottle of beer, or they say all kinds of things, Not so often, but generally people are quite nice, and they're to give you, when they see you're walking water, they'll give you donations, they'll give you even Rice Krispie squares, and even, hamburgers, and I can't tell them I'm vegetarian because it's in the bag, and they just hand it to me. There's this guy, this is your singer, big sad eyes. I seen you earlier on. You've really been really hot. It's a hot day. And I saw you 6 hours ago. You're still at it. I thought you might get something. So we got from the fast food restaurant nearby. He gave me a bag, and it was a tumbler of icy water, which was great. And then he also handed me a big fat juicy hamburger. And I didn't have the heart to say I rejected it because he was showing level of bhakti or devotion, right? So of course he drove away, and I took the water, and I just left the hamburger for the rack for Mr. Tate. So that's it. I mean, you just have to. The whole idea, experience out there is that it's a dadati predi grinati. It's the give and take policy, receive and respond. And this is what it's all about over there. And then there are I was up near Ipperwash. Now there was another thing that happened a year prior for our indigenous people. There was sacred grounds that was owned by our indigenous people, taken over by the government, that's by Lake Huron, for training grounds for World War II. So the land went back to the indigenous folks. And one guy, he pulls over and he says, "Would you like a ride?" I said, "No, I'm not taking any rides. I'm walking to St. John's Newfoundland." No. Well, did you know this is the anniversary of the day that Dudley George was shot by a police officer? I said, "No." First he asked me, "Dudley George, this is his day. Do you know who that is?" I said, "No, I didn't." So I was there to get educated. And I must say, I had a lot of time to spend with the indigenous folks. We, like say, way up in northern Ontario, we were husking wild rice. Has anybody ever had wild rice? You think white rice is good? It's nothing compared to the wild rice that grows in Canada. I'm telling you. It's last for wild rice. Cooks a little longer, but it's nutty and flavor. It's so good, right? So we spend time husking the wild rice and tanning even some deer skin just to be with them and to talk to them. And we also had a chance to go to some of their schools and talk to their students about the joys of walking and how important it is. And one of the members said, "Well, you're doing what my people should be doing." Right? So we had beautiful exchanges with them, and so many other people. Of course, we met a lot of Buddhists along the way, Christians along the way, and Hindu folks along the way. And I also had a chance to do the traditional thing, which is to go to our temples, walk to it, and it justifies getting a foot bath. Like sometimes, because it's more symbolic, when you go to the pious Hindu family's house, they'll wash your feet, and they put rose petals in it and everything like that, and then they wash your feet. Usually it's the guys that do that, and then it's justified because now it is because I was tired, and there's nothing like receiving water in my feet to soothe you, and the whole body gets regenerated. So going through mountains, going through the prairies, going through the woodlands of northern Ontario, and it starts near Manitoba, it goes all the way to the end, and we go through the oldest rock in the world. All the Canadian geologists have said, oldest rock in the world. If some of you have not been driving to northern Ontario, shame on you. Get out there, explore, go camping, dance with the bears, all that stuff. Okay? Now we did meet bears, and my third walk across Canada, I was with a godbrother, God sibling. His name's Guru Rahman, and he's from Oman Sound. And we were walking, and he would drive 5 kilometers ahead, and I'd sort of catch up to him. He'd walk to me, and then we'd carry a little bit like a leapfrog. So it was the third walk across Canada. It was the BC. I said, "Gee, Krishna, my God, this is my third walk and I haven't seen a bear. It didn't make any sense to me, you know. So then, please, it'd be so nice to see you in the form of Jabbalan, or, you know, which is a character from the Ramayana, or your bear avatar. It'd be so nice, right? So I was thinking like from a distance, it was a line. So then I caught up with Guru and we were walking. This is on the Gross Nest Pass, 5 road, 2 lanes, no buildings. No buildings as we're walking through a national park, right? So coming around the corner, around the mountain, was this what looked like an ape with a big hump on his back. And Guru who was with me next to me, he likes to talk a lot. Anybody knows him, he's really like a wonderful chatterbox. And Guru stops. What's that coming down the road? I said, looks like an ape. I said, no, actually, I think it's a bear. It's coming this way. And there's no one around. And so we didn't know what to do. And the bear came towards us, walking right in the middle of the road. That's how quiet it was. We were looking on the side, and he didn't see us, even though he's quite close. He smelled us first. Like that, like bears do. And so finally a motorist came through to this one bear to run. Now 20 minutes later, we heard a snort behind us, and the Super Z, he was right behind us. Let's say, right where you were, Alex? You know, right where you were. He was that close to us, right? And so we kept walking. He switched directions. He was right behind us. No people, no telephone, no cell phones, no nothing. And he was clearly interested in us. And we knew not to run, because that excites them. Right? But we were chanting, Namaste, Namaste, you have a picture of Grizzly Bear? And so we kept going like that. We didn't know what was going to happen, but we felt somehow protected by Krishna. And finally, a trucker came behind us, and there was it created a big noise, you know, in this cavernous mountain valley, and it just created a reverberation. The trucker was shifting gears, it was just making all this noise. It sounded like a growl of a lion, the engine. So we could see what was happening, and but the bear didn't. Not until, and the bear got very close. He was like where you were. That's how close where you were. And because his gait is big and wide, he moves faster than we do, right? Yeah, so finally he figured it out. The truck was getting very close to him, and he could feel the vibrations on his paws. And then he looked back, he took off. We never saw him again that day. So anyways, the moral of the story is you gotta watch what you pray for. Well, by the way, talking about walking, it was just the other day I did a house program in Brampton, and I met all kinds of wonderful people along the way. One guy was a Coast Guard guy, and he says, are you a Buddhist one? Because I'm a Buddhist. I said, I'm Christian. I said, I'm Christian. He said, oh, you heard Krishna? Oh, like that. So nice. And the Western guy. Went further on, and the woman, the lady's a member of our community, and she just went, Maharaj, it's RT right over here. And then she pulled over and stopped, and we talked. It was very nice. Another guy, kind of a homeless fellow, we had a pizza, and we were sitting on this step outside the store. He said, God bless you. And another lady, she came, she was an Afro-Canadian woman. She said, oh, she saw me sitting there. Oh, pray for me. Pray for me. And she says, you know, you pray for me and I'll pray for you, okay? You know, and so there's so many wonderful people along the way when you're walking, which doesn't happen when you're in a car or in a bus. You know? In fact, have you ever been in the subway? after a hard day's work, it's tough. And when you're walking, you get to build up all this energy, and you just want to, let's say share it with others. And that's exactly what happens along the way. So in terms of the trials and tribulations, one of the worst, let's say, biggest challenges of all would be mosquitoes, black flies, horse flies, stable flies, deer flies, all kinds of flies. And they usually come at the end of May to early June. Then they have to give you a little break. It's not easy. One officer came and he pulled up and said, he came up and said, I just got a call. You're too close to the highway. So, just ran back in there. After a while, you get used to this, and just learn to be very detached and show indifference, even to the mosquitoes. I learned that they buzz around. Instead of doing this and being frantic, just slowly Hare Krishna. Another one comes with Hare Krishna. You get a little bit bloody. I remember there were times, and it's in the chapter, the times I laughed on the road, and also the times I cried on the road. And I remember thinking about my mother, It wasn't Mother's Day. And you think, why do you cry sometimes, right? So, it didn't matter what motorists thought. It just didn't matter. It was on that same day I met a Punjabi guy. This is near the Ottawa River. And he ran a gas station. So it was time for me to deal with the call of nature. I said, is it okay to go? I said, yes, go ahead. And when he came, we had a little chat. And I told him I'm doing this parikrama, this walk, to promote simpler living and high thinking, a better way of life, to improve the quality of life. And you know what he said? Prabhu. We're talking about the old days. Prabhu. Anything old good, anything new bad. Talking about new concepts and everything like that. So I'm from the old school. I do believe in opening up doors for ladies, and some ladies resent it. But that's the way I am. I've been molded that way, so I'm not going to change that. Yeah, so it's a great adventure, and 4 walks across Canada, the U.S. as well, to celebrate Prabhupada's 50 years since it came. 50 years, I did it in 3 sections, the U.S. You can make up your own rules in that regard. I walked from Boston to Butler, and then back to New York, kind of following Prabhupada's trail, and in 6 weeks. And that was in 2015. 2016, I walked the Midwest, in Ohio, basically started in Pennsylvania, but Ohio is where the Midwest starts, all the way until you get to Colorado, and that was the next year. And that was to celebrate when Iskcon got incorporated, right? And then the following year, that is 50 years since Prabhupada had established Krishna consciousness in the West Coast, San Francisco, the Summer of Love, which was in 1967, right? So it was beautiful, the whole experience. Devotees join you, people walk, and one of the worst things is when people say, we're coming, they tell you about 1 week or 2 weeks, and we're coming, we're going to join you. We'll join you walking. Where are you going to be? And all that. The logistics is very hard, because you keep moving, you're a moving target, right? So this happened quite a few times. Suddenly a load of people come out. I've just finished my day, and I've just finished walking, whatever it is, like 42 kilometers, for the day, which is, by the way, is a marathon figure. I didn't know that till later on. And then, so they're about the 40-kilometer mark, and they come out, okay, we're ready to go. Oh, I'm almost finished. And you have to sort of walk with them, try to encourage them in the lifestyle of Krishna consciousness. The whole idea of walking is to touch hearts and encourage people in spiritual life, simple way of life, and also to encourage people to chant, maybe help them make a change in diet, to go more to a plant-based diet, and to read the books. We always have some literature with me and things like that. And that's what happened. My favorite walking people are the tree planters. They were the most bold and daring, were the tree planters. Because most people are from the city, and you're after 1 kilometer. Okay, my car's back there. Okay, my support got driving. So anyways, just great experience. The book's about that. It's a light read. It's easy to read. Short chapters, and it's something anybody can read. Like if you have an agnostic mom or dad or friends, they'll read this and they'll be okay with that. We insert all kinds of poems in here, and I'll just finish off with this one. It's to do with Prabhupada coming to America. Leaving home behind, a new comfort to find. It was in 1965, the ocean you did survive. On ship with beads and books, there were stares and looks. When you landed upon the shore and made that big score in the city of fashion, of darkness and passion, there was snow and cold, but you were so bold. There was noise and heat. You said no to defeat. From the above description, I learned a great conviction, and going step by step, the stride to be kept. For around every bend, there's definitely a friend. A touch of magic, making life less tragic. Hare Krishna. So thank you stuff, which you do so well. And I'll be over there signing books, and they are a fee. There's a fee for them. You can pay them any way you like. And hope you enjoy it. Give me some of your feedback. I have a very good friend, Newton. He walked with me for 4 days in California, and I sent him a book. And he said, "Oh, it's great." He said, "I can't wait till part 2."
So a big round of appreciation for how many of you have a copy of this book, The Saffron Path? Show of hands. Okay, so many of you who don't have a copy. We have limited copies here with Maharaj, and there's also a table outside. You're most welcome to come by, and Maharaj will be happy to sign them as well. Yes, Vallabhai Prabhu is there. Thank you, Prabhu. So you can speak to him and get yourself a signed copy from Maharaj on this very special occasion. So speaking of the upcoming events, as Vallabhai Prabhu mentioned earlier, Bhaktimarga Swami will be celebrating his 70th birthday on October the 5th. That's a Wednesday. Isn't it incredible? 70 years and Maharaj continues to walk, probably more than any of us in this room. Possibly everyone put together, he would still be walking more. So we have a special celebration. It's known as Vyas Puja, but essentially it's the appearance day of Bhaktimarga Swami, and it's not happening at the temple. It will be happening at Etobicoke. It's a place called SVBF Community Hall, which is at 80 Bryden Drive. So everyone is welcome. If you'd like to participate, you can just share your contact information, just your email and number, so that you will get the location sent to you. So we have Rudra Prabhu standing there. So just go up to him and share just your contact information. If not, it's happening at 80 Bryden Drive. You're most welcome to visit. Oh, okay, because they said no need to. So, but regardless, we'll appreciate that you share your contact, just so that there's an estimate of how many of you will be attending. So this is going to be on the October 5th, Wednesday, starting from 6:30 p.m. and everyone is welcome. And on the October 9th, which is the next Sunday, there is a special celebration called Diwali Mela, organized by the Vishnu Mandir, which is at Richmondville. I'm sure many of you know it's a popular temple. Vishnu Mandir, we collaborated with them in last couple of years for Rath Yatra. So they have extended the invite for celebrating Diwali Mela, which will be starting from 1 p.m. Happening at the Vishnu Mandir. For those of you who will be there, they have such a large parking lot. So I believe the festival will be happening there from 1 p.m. There will be parade, kirtan, a lot of other fun activities for everyone, kids especially. So everyone is welcome. This will be happening on October 9th at 1 p.m. next Sunday. And on October 9th again, we will also be starting our weekly Bhagavad Gita classes for the children. So for those of you who know, we have Krishna Fun School, the KFS. They have weekly Sunday programs from 6:30 p.m. So this is in addition to that, there will be Bhagavad Gita classes starting from 5 p.m. For all the kids. And of course, if you want to know more, feel free to come by the front desk, or you can visit downstairs to meet with one of the teachers to know more about the programs and the fun school activities for the kids. And the registration for Gita contest, which is going to be happening in December, yes, you can't believe it's almost, we're just a couple of months away from concluding the year 2022. So December, as many of you know, the month of Gita Jayanti, we have the kids registration, Gita contest registration open right now. So again, if you'd like to participate, if you'd like your kids to participate, please feel free to meet with one of the KFS teachers, or you can visit our website, torontokrishna.com. Just a couple more announcements before we can get going with the prasadam. Today's Sunday feast is sponsored by two donors. One is Ankit Agarwal on behalf of his mother, Vinay Agarwal, who passed away on September 16th. And we also have another devotee, Gopal Krishna Prabhu, who is also sponsoring on memorial of his mother. So for both these wonderful devotees and the family, we want to chant the Hare Krishna mantra thrice for the family and for the departed souls. So on count of 1, 2, 3, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Once again, thanks to both these wonderful donors. If any of you would also like to contribute or donate, you're most welcome to do so, be it on memorial of someone or any other occasion in your family. Please feel free to visit the front desk to know more about sponsoring for Sunday Feast. Speaking of Sunday Feast, every week we have different team of cooks who help in preparing the wonderful meal which you'll get to honor very soon. So this week we had Mother Aditi and Bhakti Krishna Prabhu. We have selected some pieces for them. Every week we have different set of devotees along with their helpers. So this week it was Bhakti Krishna Prabhu and Mother Aditi. So you'll get to see what they've cooked. And one last announcement, October 10th, that is the Monday, the following Monday, not tomorrow, is going to be the first day of Kartik, also known as Damodar Mas. For those of you who know, it's a super auspicious time to increase any of your personal sadhana, be it chanting or reading or even visiting the temple, honoring prasadam. Any sort of service that you do in Kartik Mas is multifold. So we request and encourage everyone to attend the temple as much as possible. If you're attending once a week, try to come for twice a week or maybe even every day. So that will be happening from October the 10th. So Thanksgiving Day, yes, a perfect start for the Kartik month, October 10th, Thanksgiving. And yes, that's about it for today. We encourage all of you to have the prasad. And today we'll be having an 8 p.m. kirtan as well, which will be led by our very own Ajahn. So feel free to stay around. Hare Krishna.